Man, I tell you what, I didn't know SEAL Team 6 trained lions.
I need you to trust me right now. I'm coming back.
Don't move, okay?
Where did he go?
And today we have Beast. I shit you not, I saw one trailer for this. I kind of had a feeling what way the wind was going to blow on this one, but I've been surprised before. So I saw one trailer, and in my head, I'm like, I don't want to see any more. I want to just go and check it out. If you heard about this movie at all, it's because of its cast, or essentially because of its main star, the one on the poster, but we'll get to that in a minute. Beast, directed by a Baltazar Cormacor. I'm not gonna even pretend to know. As IMDb says, he's been directing things since literally since I was born. But in terms of what you would know him from, I think the only one is there was a movie that came out. I think it was Mark Wahlberg and Denzel. I don't know. It was like two guys. I think Two Guns, what it was called. I never saw it. Trailers looked okay. I'm sure it was a fun watch, but long and the short of it is that this guy doesn't really have a lot of mainstream, easily recognizable directing credits, but he did this one. Who does it star? Again, like I said on the poster, we have, and he's kind of a household name, so I'm not going to go too much into his filmography. He has been featured on my channel in various reviews before. We have Idris Elba as the ex-husband, still a father, protagonist who's trying to make sure his girls stay safe. Also, a couple shout-outs. The two daughters, Leah Jeffries and I think it's Iana Haley, doing what they can. I'll touch on that in a minute. And then one of my personal favorites, I'm very biased in this regard, but I love Sharlto Copley, no matter what he's in. I love him as an actor. You'd probably know him because he was the main reporter from District 9, but he's been in more stuff since then, but he's just I love the African accent and all that. It's ay okay, come over here. And like, I love all that shit. I love the African accent. Let's dive right in. What is Beast about? Idris is like, before my wife died, I wasn't a great husband, and now I'm not really a great father, but we're gonna go back to the homeland of where your mother's from, and we're gonna go with my brother, and like, all right, cool. Safari to kind of reconnect to our roots, and wouldn't you know it, because poachers are fucking around out here in the African wilds, poachers kill this lion's pride, and this lion is like, okay, I'm going on the offensive, all humans must die. And they just happen to run into the path of the beast here, and that's where our movie then proceeds to go from. The question is, who can survive? Can they survive? You know, this is family versus family, nature versus beast, man versus that whole thing. So that's the movie. Starting with the positives, the actors are doing what they can with what they have. I don't have any problems with any of the cast. Idris, he's great. He's great. Sharlto's great. The little girls, you can tell there's genuine emotion behind what they're saying. All the actors do a good job. What I really liked, and this is because it's more, I'm a nerd and film buff, and I like seeing this in my films. I've always attested to it because I hate choppy, quick-paced editing. I don't know whether, I was trying to look this up online, I don't know whether it's the director to credit for this or the cinematographers, but everybody who operated the camera and directed the camera in this actually did a really good job. A lot of what I call, they go by different names, but long takes, tracking shots. You might call them a long take, a one take, a tracking shot, any of those, but basically they're uninterrupted shots that are following what's going on, following around, maneuvering. That's 1917 in a nutshell. The whole film is filmed to look like one tracking shot. Other directors and films do it too, but that's just an easy example. A surprising amount of those used in this film, even when the lion's attacking or when there's action going down. The camera is smooth, it's following, it's panning, it's moving, it's maneuvering, but it's all clear. I never was lost. Like, I was pleasantly surprised to see great camera work, so props there. A huge compliment from me. I liked that a lot. The lion, all things considered, it is a CGI lion. it didn't look terrible. Like, it didn't look like bad CGI. The environment was being messed around with practically due to the lion or other people. That kind of combined pretty well. Because, I mean, yeah, you obviously can't have a real lion, but for them to all be CG and, like, animated lions, essentially, or CGI, yeah, good job. Like, no complaints. It's a solid lion. Decent amount of tension, kinda. There's some moments where there was a little bit of heightened tension, and they did a pretty good job. There are moments where they tried to make it like really, really filled with tension, but due to a lack of stakes that I'll get to in a moment, it was hard to kind of extrapolate tension from the entire film. But there were some solid moments where I was like, oh man, this is... when's the lion gonna attack? Where is he? Occasionally there are some smart decisions. A few times, like 2 to 3 times in the film, people make a good call, but otherwise. But we get into the cons of the film, where the film starts to fall apart and becomes a little bit below average for me. The script. The script is the biggest problem in this film. I mentioned earlier the actors are doing what they can with what they got. That's exactly what I mean. You can throw the best actors in the industry into a film, and if the script is lacking, it's still gonna sound off.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Idris and the girls, they're trying to sell this dynamic of like a father who's trying to reconnect but has obviously made some mistakes, and girls that have bright futures ahead of them but have abandonment issues and are trying to communicate that while also grieve the loss of their mother, which still feels ever too present. And of course Charlton playing the brother who's trying to be there for his family, literally. But the script is just, a lot of the film, especially in the first act, is heavily expository. Exposition isn't always a bad thing, but you don't want to spoon feed your audience what's happening. You can give context clues in the environment. You can let the audience piece together through imagery, through character choices, decisions, through more subtle and cleverly written dialogue. But when you have people walk into a room and you start getting that dialogue that sounds like, how could you? You know what happened to our mother 5 years ago when she abandoned us on the side of the road, and you were never there for us when we needed. It's like, when you get into those waters and that territory, it doesn't work. And I think most audiences can hopefully recognize that, just that there's better ways of writing these scenes than to have literally characters come on a screen and tell you what has happened, what is happening, and how they're feeling, but just so literally and so just, Idris is trying and he's just like, I loved your mother, and when she got sick, that wasn't my fault. Like, it's painful to see all these actors of such a high caliber being given such diddly scripts to work with. Additionally, and this is a big thing for me in terms of my investment in a film, no stakes. Even though it's an R-rated film, just because of the way the dynamic is set up, like the father, the kids, the vibe that the film gives me, you kind of know who's going to live and who's going to die. I never for one moment thought the girls would ever be in danger, not once. Before I even walked into the movie, I said the girls aren't going to be in danger. I thought in my head, Charlotte's probably going to die, and Idris can go either way. But I knew that Idris was the only character who might die. But even then, I still thought, just somehow in my mind, I just thought, you know what? I don't think he's going to die, though. I just don't think they would kill him, because then that would leave the girls even more horribly scarred, and it would leave too downer of an ending. Audiences wouldn't be receptive to it because it's too dark. So in movies like this, you can always kind of tell. It's like watching an ABC or CBS TNT knows drama, one of those shows where you're just watching characters do the same thing every episode or variations therein, but there's no real danger or stakes, There was danger in this film, but I never once feared for the lives of anybody on screen, really. Feared, A lot of the character decisions are silly. I think a lot of the characters, a couple of them go after the line when they don't need to. Some of them leave themselves vulnerable in dangerous situations or make themselves overtly vulnerable when they don't need to. There's a couple, as I said before, there are a couple smart decisions, Luckily, the dad is a doctor, so he has a medical background and can kind of tend to everybody's wounds when they get hurt. Daughter reaches for a tool in the middle of a combat to use in a situation that helps out. Sure, stuff like that happens, but stuff also happens where dad gets a rifle and fires it at it doesn't hold it steady and take a shot, but fires it like this, like bang, bang, and you're just, one example, that's it. But there's many more where just people make very questionable decisions, and nothing takes me out of a film like this, especially a survival or survival horror film, than bad decisions that logically don't make sense. I get it. Fear and panic might cloud your judgment, but there's a limit in these types of things, you know? Only other note I would have, honestly, is you don't always need music. Sometimes just letting everything go quiet and letting the audio design, Quiet Place 1 and 2 are perfect examples of this. You let the audio design create the tension, the lack of noise and all that, like you're actually being hunted, just the rustling of the leaves and something gets knocked over in the distance, a tin can, you hear a growl, like, anything like that. They could have heightened the tension if they had let the audio do its work instead of the whole music. Can make or break a film and a video game or art in general, but sometimes you can let the audio speak for itself. You know what? Here's the funny thing. Overall, I don't think Beast is a good or bad movie. I think it's a if you fun watch with friends. I wouldn't go out of my way to see it if you were like, I wonder how that movie is going to be, or I love these kinds of maybe it's hard to say then. I think that it could have been a lot better had there been a better script, had it been a bit kind of polished, or just, you know, some changes made. It's too much to get into, but for what it is, I would say Beast is worth I give it a low 3 out of 5, you know? A low 3 out of 5, which in my book means it's below average. It's not a film that I see myself ever returning to in the future, you know, of my own accord. But if some friends are getting plastered one night and they want to watch, like, dumb fun, then yeah, maybe I'll get drunk and watch Beast again. It's just not a movie that's going to be memorable for me by the end of the year. I had a fun time with friends seeing it, but it's could have been a lot better, and there's a lot better movies like this. But that's all I gotta say about Beast. Thank you guys and gals so much for watching. That was my review. Stay tuned for the next episode of whatever movie I review. And goodbye, travelers.